Today I'll be doing Peter Pan. I hope you enjoy.
And put our hands over her eyes. But Wendy, who saw that they must break the joyous news more gently, had a better plan. Let us all slip into our beds and be there when she comes in, just as if we had never been away. And so, when Mrs. Darling went back to the nursery, as she had each night since they had left her, all the beds were occupied. The children waited for her cry of joy, but it did not come. She saw them, but she did not believe they were there.
You see, she saw them in their beds so often in her dreams that she thought this was just the dream hanging around her still.
She sat down in the chair by the fire, where in the old days she had nursed them.
They could not understand this, and a cold fear fell upon all the three of them.
"Mother," Wendy cried. "That's Wendy," she said, but still she was sure it was the dream. "Mother, that's John," she said. "Mother," cried Michael. He knew her now. "That's Michael," she said, and she stretched out her arms for the three little selfish children she thought they would never envelop again. Yes, they did. They went round Wendy and John and Michael, who had slipped out of bed and run to her. "George, George," she cried, when she could speak, and Mr. Darling woke to share her bliss, and Nana came rushing in. There could not have been a lovelier sight, but there was none to see it except a little boy who was staring in at the window. He had had ecstasies innumerable that other children can never know, but he was looking through the window at the one joy from which he must be forever barred. I hope you want to know what became of the other boys. They were waiting below to give Wendy time to explain about them, and when they had counted 500, they went up. They went up by the stair, because they thought this would make a better impression. They stood in a row in front of Mrs. Darling, with their hats off, and wishing they were not wearing their pirate clothes. They said nothing, but their eyes asked her to have them. Of course, Mrs. Darling said at once that she would have them. As for Peter, he saw Wendy once again before he flew away. He did not exactly come to the window, but he brushed against it in passing so that she could open it if she liked and call to him. That is what she did. "Hello, Wendy." "Goodbye," he said. "Oh dear, are you going away?" "Yes." "But where are you going to live?" "With Tink in Neverland. I shall have such fun," said Peter, with eyes on Wendy. "It'll be rather lonely in the evening," she said, sitting by the fire. "Well then, come with me." "May I, Mummy?" "Certainly not. I've got you home again, and I mean to keep you. But he does so need a mother. So do you, my love." "Oh, all right," Peter said, as if he had asked her from politeness merely, but Mrs. Darling saw his mouth twitch, and she made this handsome offer, to let Wendy go to him for a week every year to do his spring cleaning. When Peter came for her at the end of the first year, she flew away in a frock she had woven from leaves and berries in Neverland, and her one fear was that he might notice how short it had become. But he never noticed. He had so much to say about himself. She had looked forward to thrilling talks about old times, but new adventures had crowded the old ones from his mind. "Who is Captain Hook?" he asked with interest when she spoke of the arch-enemy. "Don't you remember," she asked, amazed, "how you killed him and saved all our lives?" "I forget them after I kill them," he replied carelessly. Wendy was pained too to find that the past year was but as yesterday to Peter. It had seemed such a long year awaiting to her. But he was exactly as fascinating as ever, and they had a lovely spring cleaning in a little house on the treetops. Next year he did not come for her. As the years went by, Peter would come for her at times and forget others. In time, Wendy grew to a woman and had a child of her own. She had long forgotten how to fly herself when Peter arrived in the nursery one spring evening to take Wendy's daughter, Jane, off to do his cleaning and tell him stories. As you look at Wendy now, you may see her hair becoming white and her figure little again, for all this happened long ago. Jane is now a common grown-up with a daughter called Margaret, and still every spring cleaning time, except when he forgets, Peter comes for Margaret and takes her to the Neverland, where she tells him stories about himself, to which he listens eagerly. When Margaret grows up, she will have a daughter, who is to be Peter's mother in turn. And thus it will go on, so long as children are gay and innocent and heartless. The end.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Goodbye.